Consistency is my keyword for 2025. Now, I didn't just decide this, I did figure it out at the start of the year, and I'm sharing it with you now. But it is the necessary foundation to build on that many business owners simply try to bypass. Consistency requires focus. So, how can we be more focused, present, and free as speakers? How can focusing on rehearsal give you more flexibility and freedom as a speaker? My guest on this episode is a professional keynote speaker, TEDx coach, and the author of a book called Reclaim the Moment, Greg Bennick. In an increasingly noisy and distracted world, the ability to focus is becoming rarer, and the need for focus is increasing. Greg is going to share with us some of the strategies to increase our focus as speakers on the platform and to use it to enhance our presentation skills. You're going to find out why focus and consistency are the ingredients for magic as a speaker. Welcome to Present Influence, the show for professional communicators who want to inspire, impact, and influence. My name's John Ball. I'm your guide on this journey to mastery-level communication skills. Greg, welcome to Present Influence. I'm very happy to have you with us today. Now, this is a show that is primarily aimed at professional communicators and speakers. And I don't often spend a lot of time asking guests about their background, but I think in your case, you have a lot of experience as a professional speaker and communicator, and it would be good to get a sense from you as to just how extensive your experience is.
Well, extensive in terms of I've spoken all over the world, yes. But first, hi, nice to see you. And thanks, listeners, for tuning in. Extensive in terms of all over the world speaking, yes. But also extensive, interestingly, in that I've been speaking ever since I was really a little kid, basically. I did my first professional performances and presentations at age 13 years old. And I was doing corporate events as a performer starting at 15 years old. So realizing very early on the power of words, the power of communication, the power of combining communication and entertainment and making sure that they blend together. All those things have been part of my life for a very long time. So as I've traveled around the world speaking, but more importantly, connecting with people, those lessons have joined me along the way. So it's been quite a journey.
Yeah. And you've also trained other people in speaking as well in your work.
Yeah, I have. And I've trained a number of different types of people. When I say types, societally approved types, right? So we think of C-level executives as being one type of people. And then we think of people who are just trying to communicate more effectively as another type of people. People in general, but from different walks of life, certainly. People have come to me and asked for advice. I'm also a speaking coach for TEDx Perth, Australia. I'm their first international speaking coach. So some of the people that I've gotten to coach from TEDx Perth have been fascinating and absolutely from completely different walks of life. From somebody who does an inquiry-based TV show in Australia, where he literally walks up to people on the street and asks them really intensively personal, hard questions, to somebody who's doing some of the foremost research on oceanography and how to save the oceans from mining and exploration. All sorts of different people have come to me for speaking coaching and ideas on how to communicate more effectively.
So you've really helped a wide variety of people
For
to be
sure.
able to communicate. You've also communicated on many different platforms.
Yeah,
TEDx stage maybe being one, but as a
absolutely.
keynote speaker, a podcaster on radio, do you find that there are similarities between those, or is there a preference as to which one you like to do?
Absolutely. It's all about connection. And I'll give you a perfect example. So, right now, you and I are connecting. We're also connecting with your listeners, but this is very different than if I'm on stage in front of a group, because in front of a group, I'm staring at people in the eyes, right? I'm looking at them. I'm connecting with them personally on a personal level. And you have to translate that so that connection then comes through regardless of the format that you're using. I mean, technically right now, I'm staring at the screen, and behind that screen is a video camera, and that's broadcasting on the internet. But that's not really what I'm looking at. I'm actually looking at your listeners, if that makes sense. I'm looking at your viewers. And that level of connection has to be maintained throughout. Otherwise, one medium is not going to work the way that the next will. We want them all to be effective means of communication.
Yeah. In terms of delivery style, do you enjoy maybe the more casual approach of radio or podcasting, or do you like the sort of practice formal style, or do all of those fit in really well for you?
Well, it's interesting, right? Because doing podcasts or doing radio, you have a different relaxed approach, or at least I do, a different relaxed approach with the audience. And you're able to communicate what seems like a little more casually. I try to match that on the stage as well. I think it's really important to meet that on the stage, because you definitely hear radio that comes across like this, and people describe their every single word in this way, and it just doesn't connect with me. I don't know, maybe it works for you or somebody else, but same thing is true on stage. If I walk out on stage and say, "Hey, everybody, it's really great to be here." Steve Martin, the famous comedian, used to do a joke about that years ago, where he would come out on stage and say, "Hey, I wanted to say it's really great to be here," and joke about that affect. Well, I think it's important to find a genuine communicative style that works across the board, that works whether you're doing a podcast, whether you're on stage in front of a live audience, whether you're behind a microphone, behind a podium, whatever it might be. Ultimately, it's all about connecting with the audience and making sure that's maintained.
Yeah, I like what you're saying by that, because one of the things that I often end up helping people with is how they actually communicate when they're on a platform, whether it's a podcast, a video, or a live stage,
Yeah,
is really important to have that, as you said, the connection sort of element with it. I think a lot of people are guilty of what I call the sort of professional presenter style, where they're trying to be a certain way and not be particularly emotional. They end up not really being themselves. I think it
right.
comes across a little inauthentic, much like a radio DJ doing the radio DJ thing rather than just speaking to people like a
That's right.
person.
That's right. And you're easy to speak with. And I'm looking at a screen rather than a human face. I'm looking at your human face on a screen. But the point is that making that connection is essential. And remembering that's what we're doing, not a gift, but just an offering to your listeners. But that's a takeaway, right? When you're in front of an audience, or whether you're in front of an audience virtually, in terms of there's a microphone and airwaves between you, as the case may be, it's important to remember that you're actually communicating a message to people. You're not just communicating to, quote unquote, the internet. You're communicating to people. You know, when I'm speaking right now, I'm imagining that there's some person out there, and that person is actually listening to what I'm saying. And that person is hopefully going to take these ideas and think, the next time I'm in front of the boardroom, I could actually convince people of my message more readily if I realistically connect with them more effectively and in a more personal way. Maybe they'll tell a different type of story, approach the audience differently. That's what my hope is. So keeping that
Yeah.
in mind when we communicate is really important.
I don't think I've come across too many people who started in speaking as young as you did. I may have got up in church and read some Bible verses here or there when I was around that age. And that was probably terrifying enough for me at that particular time. But you were being involved in corporate presentations and things like that. When did you first give your own keynote presentation?
Sure. I think the first keynote, like the actual keynote, came when I was in my 20s, very early on. But I was billed as a keynote speaker even before that, when I was just, I shouldn't say just an entertainer, but I was an entertainer primarily. I started out as a juggler. I started out performing juggling, and quickly realized, as I mentioned, in my teens, that combining ideas with entertainment was an incredibly effective form of communication. If I sit here and I describe to you risk taking, and I show you a PowerPoint presentation, that's one thing. If I describe risk taking while juggling a machete, all of a sudden it takes on a whole new life. So, with that
Right.
in mind, I realized very early on how effective it could be when you combine entertainment and education, entertainment and ideas. And it wasn't until I did my first maybe 45-minute long solo presentation with intent of communicating a message that I felt comfortable calling myself a keynote speaker. But it's been quite a journey. It's been quite a journey along the way.
Yeah, I think in the general world of keynote speaking, and then there are obviously there's always going to be exceptions, but for most people, that entertainment side is critical for being successful or being in demand as a speaker, I would say.
Absolutely. And even I have a new promo video that's coming out today, actually. I think it's today that I'm going to get it from my editors. And I was explaining to them, I wanted to hit the audience with the message, but then have that inkling of fun throughout. So somebody watching it, I don't want them watching the video thinking, oh, wow, this is a great magician we're hiring. This is a great juggler we're hiring. But there has to be some substance to it. But amidst the substance, I don't want the viewer just to see, and then I click through to the next slide. I'd rather have them see me interacting with people in the audience. That's a really effective way of communicating, without a doubt.
Yeah. I've had the experience of working with clients on their keynotes before. Some of them have some definite talents that they can bring and should bring in. I think it's great to do that, but sometimes struggle to get the balance right of entertainment and presentation. How do you manage that? What maybe do you have as advice for people on working that out, like bringing in some entertainment, but not letting that take over?
It's essential. I would say that the most important thing is figure out what the message is that you want to communicate, and then figure out what entertainment you can do, whether that's a joke, whether it's a routine, whether it's a bit, as the case may be, that supports the message. That's the essential quality. When you go off on a tangent and you're entertaining for entertaining's sake, it'll come across as entertainment. People will love it, but the reviews you're going to get are the same reviews that I got very early on, which were things like when I would get written reviews, this was really entertaining, but I'm not sure what the message was supposed to be. So that's not what you want. What you want is
Yeah.
people to say, oh my gosh, this guy came in, he talked about focus. He talked about focus and he did this incredible juggling bit where focus was essential and it all makes sense towards the end of communicating that message. So I'd say figure out what your message is for the talk that you're giving. And then figure out, sure, some entertainment that goes along with that. But maybe the entertainment is just an anecdote, a fun story. But it's not a fun story that's fun for fun's sake. You don't speak about X and then tell the fun story about Y, and X never meets Y. Rather, think about X as the idea you're trying to communicate, the main point you're trying to make, and then have the story support that X, as the case may be. I didn't know we were going to talk about algebra today, but I think you get the idea.
I do, and I like it. I like formulas. I was just recently interviewing a lady called Judy Carter. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, but she teaches humor and comedy. One of the few people who does it really well. And we were talking about the formulas that we can use within that for humor and for punching up your communication. But I think very specifically about a lady I worked with, and I'm not going to name names, but a classical pianist, very talented lady. But she ended up with almost 10 minutes of a piano concerto in her talk. And it was a little too much. So we had to figure out a way to still incorporate that because it was very relevant to her talk, but to not have it take over and be like the only thing people would remember, or to be sat there thinking, "Oh, how long is she going to be playing this for?"
Yeah.
It's really not what you need.
I would think that if somebody was classically trained on piano, that if they played a snippet, a short bar here or there, that it would impress me with their skill and augment what they were trying to say without doing all of Mozart, all of Beethoven, as the case may be.
Yeah, or the logistics of lumbering a piano around with you to all your
Can't
speaking
imagine.
events, I wouldn't fancy it.
Nope. I can't imagine.
No,
Imagine.
I wouldn't want to take that. Now, you did bring up there that your key topic, one of your key topics is focus. And I certainly do want to get into that with you because it's something I certainly get challenged. I think we all challenged by it, but I certainly assume everyone is because of how much I am. But can you share with us a little bit about what you teach about focus and maybe what's going to be relevant to our listener here today as to how we can be more focused?
Sure. And I'll even tie it into what we're talking about. So, even my answer is going to be a metaphor for what we were just talking about earlier is that focus. Why is it important? Is because we live in an increasingly chaotic world and one that pulls us in constant different directions. And recognizing what matters most is essential to us. So, using juggling as a metaphor, for example, whatever ball is in the air, that's the one we've got to focus on. And in life, what that ball is the thing that if it drops or falls or fails is going to do the most significant damage or have the most impact on us. So, what I like to think about is what is that thing? What is the thing that matters most to us? I'd suggest it's the people around us. I'd suggest it's the mission that we have. I'd suggest, as we were talking about, the communicative point we're trying to make in the moment, whatever that thing is, that's what deserves our attention most. If I'm juggling two beanbags and a machete, where am I going to keep my focus? I would hope that I'm going to keep it on the knife, right? And there's a chapter in my book called Keep Your Eyes on the Knife, specifically for that reason. The idea that there's a juggling metaphor as we're juggling, let's say, our knife, making our way through the constant barrage that we have to deal with throughout the day. Where do we keep our focus and how do we recognize what matters most? So I often am instructing or teaching or offering ideas for people on remembering what matters most.
How do we keep that in our head? Because I think one of the worst times for me as a speaker is when you're about to go on. Because I think when you're on stage, all other things leave your mind. But when you're getting ready, that's where all the stuff can start coming up for you, and the distractions can start to appear in your environment, and start maybe even questioning yourself about what you're about to deliver. What are the things that we might be able to do specifically to get more focus ready for going out on the platform?
For sure. What the question is, it goes back to something that I was told when I was in my early 20s. I was doing a presentation for Boeing in Seattle. And just when I was about to walk out on stage, literally just as I was about to walk on stage in the first big presentation, I can't remember, 2,000, 3,000. I don't even remember how many people in the room. It felt like 1 million people were in the room. My client turned to me and said, "What do you want them to remember after they've forgotten what you said?" And I was full of myself. And I said, "They're going to remember everything I've said." And she said, "No, they're not. They're not going to remember anything you've said. What do you want them to remember?" So that's where I first really started thinking about, okay, what matters most when I get up on stage? What matters most is, what does John remember? What does Greg remember? What does Susie remember when she walks out of the room and she says, "Yeah, this guy came in. He was great. He had a shaved head and he did all these fun things. He told us to build a better now." Done. Great. If she remembers that, then that's the thing that I focus on. And when I'm about to walk out on stage and, oh my gosh, is my collar okay? Did I remember to shave this morning? There's more people here than I thought. Do I have water with me? Okay, I've got water with me. All right. The lighting's a little weird. As we start thinking about all those things, you have to cut through all of it and imagine the person leaving the room. What do you want them to remember after they've forgotten what you said? And then focus on that. Because if you walk out on stage and your collar is weird and your beard is too long and you don't have enough water and the light is in your eyes and the stage collapses, whatever it might be, if people walk out of the room and they remember, "Oh yeah, Greg said, okay, we got to reclaim the moment and build a better now." And he gave us some ideas for that. All right, good. And they go about their day, then you've just given a successful presentation. So got to carve through, focus on the people leaving the room and what you want them to leave with. And that's going to help you get by.
I like that. That's really valuable advice. I think that will certainly stay with me as well. Do you have any thoughts about longer term focus throughout the day? Because a lot of us are content creators. You yourself, you're doing writing books and, gosh, probably many other things as well. Do you have any thoughts or tips for staying more focused in the longer term throughout our professional day?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And we have to remember that our eyeballs are valuable. And I don't just mean that our vision is valuable. I mean that where we put our focus is valuable. And it's valuable to other people who are willing to pay tremendous amounts of money to take our focus away. When my focus is over here looking at the thing that I might buy next, it's because somebody paid for that attention. They bought it. They bought my attention. Keeping our attention is essential, yes, but also us making the choice, having the agency, making the decision to keep our focus on a task at hand is up to us. We're going to constantly feel that barrage. Throughout the day, we're going to constantly have our focus drawn from us. Because the thing is, if we're asked to create a report, okay, the famous TPS report from the movie Office Space, right? If we're asked to create a report and we don't really want to be doing that, I got to tell you, it could be anything from Wordle to a YouTube video to an eBay listing that will quickly draw your attention away. We have to keep our focus. And the reason we have to do that is because we maintain our sense of self by keeping our focus. When our focus goes over here with what's distracting us because we've been shown something shiny, and people are, again, paying lots of money to show us something shiny and to take our money and to take our attention, we're going to lose our sense of self amidst that. We're going to end up with a piece of ourself over there, a piece of ourself over here, a piece of ourself back there. And in the midst of that, we lose ourself. And we're going to end up feeling completely discombobulated and completely out of line. That's the way that I feel when I'm not focused. I feel like I've lost myself. I haven't gotten anything done today. I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. And I feel like a mess. When I focus, and you use the example of writing the book, when I focused the way I needed to when I was writing my book, the sense of self and sense of accomplishment I got was incredible. It was generated from within. And it's not because I'm superhuman. I'm definitely not. But what I did was I shut my phone off for a little while. I shut down the social media for a little while, neither of which are evil. I've got the latest phone. I've got all the social medias, but shutting those things down allowed me to not be absorbed by the allure of distraction, and instead allowed me to get tasks done, which again led to my self-esteem being boosted. I wrote the book. I finished the chapter. I finished the sentence. I finished the thing I started doing. It's essential for us psychologically and in terms of financially as well to keep our eyes on the knife, to keep our eyes on the page, what's in front of us. I think long term, the more we do that, the better we'll be and the better we'll feel, certainly.
Do you find it better to break things down when you have a project on or when you have multiple things on the go? Do you break down the tasks and then schedule them in, or just create specific areas of time throughout your day that you're going to be working on specific things?
Yeah, I think specific time throughout the day for specific things, recognizing that sometimes things will flow over, sometimes things won't. But the thing is, when things flow over, we have to recognize that something else is being let go of in that moment. Yesterday, I have an example of that. I have a to do list that's massive, like everybody's to do list is massive. None of it's going to get done if I just sit around thinking about how massive the to do list is. And I was recognizing how important it was to just focus on one thing for a little while. And focusing on that one thing for a little while, and yesterday was my website, I realized that as I was diving into the website, diving into what needed to change and diving in more, that the allotted time that I gave to that was so much more effectively used than if I just said, okay, I got to do this website, throw 5 minutes at it, throw 10 minutes at it. Instead, I carved out time specifically for that. And in doing so, actually got somewhere. That time was specific to that. And I just dove in without, or rather with blinders on to the rest of the world. I think it's important because there's always going to be distractions. There's always going to be things which pull me away from the 2 hours that I'd set aside to do that. There's distractions that would love for the 2 hours that I set aside to do that to be 2 minutes, and that they spend the other hour and 58 minutes selling me something. It's essential that we carve out time. I think it's really important to do that, but also to be a bit malleable. Because if you carve out 15 minutes and you realize, wait a minute, I'm in a flow state here, go with it. Spend the time, do good work. At the end of the day, that's what we really want to do is we want to do good work. We want to get things done that are valuable. And if we spend a little more time on this and then make up for it later by focusing really well on something else, I think that's time well spent rather than just being scattershot and all over the place and trying to get everything done, which is never going to happen. No one
Yeah.
has ever said, I had this massive to-do list today and I just threw my time all over the place. I got it all done. I don't have anything else to do. My life's good. I'm complete. Not going to happen. So yeah, carving out time is important, but be a little bit malleable and forgiving with yourself as well.
No, definitely, I think that's good advice. I wonder that one of my biggest challenges when it comes to focus personally is the desire to try and take on too many things at the same time. How do you advise people on knowing whether you've got too much on your plate and perhaps what you need to remove, or how best to manage that?
Absolutely. Again, it goes back to what's most important to you, right? If you're trying to feed your kids and you're trying to come up with a new website, you're designing a new piece of promo material, and you forget to feed your kids, probably not a good approach. We have to remember what's most important to us. And I think that a little more time spent deciding what's most important is essential. But also, people need to remember that by dialing back a bit, by sending a project to a different team, by prioritizing one thing over another, you're going to be more effective. Ultimately, you're going to be more effective. I think there's a myth to multitasking that we can do everything all at once and get it all done. And I don't think that's real. I think that when we focus on one thing, we are better off. So when people start adding on too much, I always suggest that we need to start thinking in terms of a team rather than thinking in terms of just us solo. Because when you think of yourself as this solo elite fighting system, just navigating through space, conquering and destroying everything in your path, it's not going to be the case. You're going to ruin more than you create. So I think it's really important to think in terms of a team and how can a team support us? How can we delegate? How can we share responsibility rather than taking on so much and then being completely overwhelmed? I could design a piece of promo material for myself or for you. I gotta tell you, it's not going to be the best. On my to-do list for today is think about new promo materials in this specific capacity. I'm definitely going to ask somebody else for help with that rather than take it on myself and flail around for the next 3 days trying to figure out how to do that. No, there's other people who I can turn to and create some team bonds and do some relationship building to get the tasks done that I need to. I think it's important to delegate and share and use a team effectively.
I think that's good, solid advice. And any business owner, especially who maybe has more than just speaking on their plate, who wants to do things as well, should definitely be thinking about ways in which you can organize and delegate and share the workload out. So it's not just you who's responsible for doing everything. Because one of the things I see, and I come across this with many of the clients I work with, is they are trying to do everything, especially on social media. They're trying to be in all the social media channels. They're trying to create content for all of those different channels. And they're trying to create talks. Some of them are creating talks every time they speak. And it's too much. And so that streamlining and workflowing things and having help to do all that, I think is super critical and
It's just so
important.
important because I know how to edit video. Okay, cool. I know how to edit video. But knowing how to edit video and being a good editor are completely different. Meaning, I could make you a video. That's absolutely true. It would show your face, it would cut between this and that, but it's not going to look like a professionally edited video. Got to delegate, got to share, got to get somebody on your team who knows how to do that so that you can do check that off the list and have that be something that gets done well rather than just gets done. We don't want to just do tasks. We want the things that we're involved with to be meaningful and we want them to be excellent. And the way to do that is to work together rather than be, as I said, the solitary solo fighting system against the world. Rather, let's work with each other and actually make some progress.
There are definitely other benefits to having this sort of level of focus and organization, not just that you can get more done in your day.
That's right. Meaning that, is that the goal? Do you wake up I don't wake up in the morning thinking, okay, yesterday I completed 43 tasks. If I can complete 88 tasks today, 72 tasks, 114 tasks, my day is more successful. Not at all. It's not about the number of tasks that we accomplish. I want the work that I do to be meaningful. I want the work that I do with others to be meaningful for us. In my book, I talk about the reverberation effect, the idea that we can share ideas amongst each other and develop and grow together, that we can work together as an effective team by listening to ideas and expanding upon them for one another and with one another. At the end of the day, I would love to accomplish one task and do it really well than do 100 tasks in this kind of half complete, not really effective, low quality approach. I just wouldn't want that. I'd rather do less tasks better, or rather, I'd rather have the team work on something that was meaningful to them and actually accomplish it rather than flail around and not get done what they wanted to get done.
One of the things that stuck in my head from when we had a chat a while back was that you mentioned as well about how this sort of level of focus and organization will also help to free up space for spontaneity for people. Can you talk a bit about more about that and why that's important?
Totally. And I love your question because here's the thing. I could go chapter by chapter in my book. I could tell you about my book and how I wrote it, why. Ultimately, we could wrap that all up in about 30 seconds. And I can tell you that my book is about creating space for possibility. It's really ultimately what I speak about. It's not as much about focus as it is the result of focus, creating space for possibility. With juggling, for example, it's not just about learning a trick. It's not about keeping the ball in the air. It's about what more can you do when you create space for possibility with this amazing skill and talent. So ultimately, that's what we're talking about here, is creating space for possibility. It's creating space for, on a personal level, with the group, with the team. That's really what we're going after, is that if we're constantly chasing and constantly trying to catch up, we're never going to create space for the possibility that we want to see in the world, the bridging of the gap between what we have and what we want. I want that gap bridged. And the way we bridge that gap is through creating space for it. And focus allows for that. Focus is a means to an end. It's not the end in and of itself. Focus allows us to create space for possibility, to do the things we really want to be doing and to accomplish the things we want to be doing. And it might very well be at work that you're focused on a task, and that's the thing you really want to be doing. The only way you're going to get there is through creating space. And again, pushing things to the side, which are going to get in the way between what you have and what you want. So that's really what the book is about ultimately. But it speaks to your question as well, that if we want to create space for the things that we want most in life, we have to focus. It's all about creating space for possibility.
Fantastic. I want to bring things back around. We haven't really left speaking behind, but I want to bring things back
Sure.
around
Yeah.
to speaking
Yeah, of
specifically
course.
because I know that you very much care about one of the aspects of presentation preparation that I do, and I think a lot of people should and don't, which is the importance of rehearsal and improvement.
Yeah. So your question is like how to rehearse, or why is that important? I just want to make sure I'm answering the right question, but yeah.
So let's go with the importance of rehearsal and then maybe a little about how best to do that.
Sure, absolutely. Rehearsal is essential. In the work with TEDx Perth, for example, with the 3 people that I coached last year, I was telling each of them the same thing. You know what? It's incredible that you have this amazing television show where you walk up to people on the street and ask the hardest hitting questions. And it's incredible that you are literally going to save the ocean over here. And it's incredible that you over here take these amazing photos. I had 3 incredible speakers with incredible stories. And I told them all the same thing. Rehearse, practice, get used to your message. And it didn't mean, for some of them, it meant memorization. And that was an approach that they wanted to try. It turns out that none used memorization as a means to getting where they wanted to go. But what they did rather was just get used to the ideas, get used to the words, envision themselves in front of the audience, do some preparation. If I was really, really on my game, we'd have one call and then maybe we'd have another call. We'd talk about what's it going to look like when we get on this particular web platform today. We really dial it in. The point is, it's not essential. We're going to figure it out because we've done podcast interviews and been interviewed before. But what happens if you're speaking in front of a group next month and you don't know what the room looks like, and you don't know if you're going to have a microphone, and you don't know what the lighting is going to look like, you don't know how the audience is going to be dressed? How are you supposed to dress for this event? Is it okay if you show up in a Hawaiian shirt and a pair of shorts? Maybe. If the event is on a beach and everyone's drinking cocktails, yeah, that might be perfect. If you show up in a suit, that's going to look a little strange. But if you show up in the Hawaiian shirt in the boardroom, right, it turns out that the corporate office is having you come in to do your presentation. I hope you don't have the margarita in your hand when you walk in, because that might be your last day at work. The point is, doing that prep, asking questions about where you're going to be presenting, and then getting used to the words, getting used to the things you want to say, preparing. It doesn't have to be memorization, but even mental bullet points, so that when you're in front of the audience, you're not just out there flailing, but you've got a roadmap. The roadmap doesn't have to be word for word, but the roadmap are things like, you know what? I've got that little bit of confidence because I ran through this with my spouse yesterday and she told me, you know what? That's pretty good. I like that. And that little confidence boost, that's a signpost on the roadmap. Or, you know what? I went into the boardroom yesterday, and I use boardroom as an example. It could be anything. It could be the stage. I got up on that stage an hour beforehand, yesterday before the event, and I just felt the stage under my feet. You know what? That makes me feel a little more confident. Another signpost on the roadmap. I think that those signposts along the way are what lead you to success on stage, certainly. Rehearsing, going through the words, memorizing if need be, coming up with bullet points, asking about the room, all of those sorts of things are all variables. Let's eliminate some of those variables, or at least check them off the list, so that when we're in front of the audience, when the cameras are rolling, when the lights are on, we're prepared. And I think Muhammad Ali talked about that. All the thousands of hours that he used in training when the lights were off prepared him for when the lights were on. I can't remember his exact quote in the moment, but it's really telling, right? It's the hours that you go to the gym where you're just lifting something, sweating, and putting in the time that lead to somebody saying, wow, John, you're looking pretty good. What have you been doing? So, I've been going to the gym, that kind of thing. It's the hours behind the scenes that lead to the hours in front of the audience that are most effective.
Do you have any guidance for how much rehearsal is enough rehearsal?
Yeah, I would say enough to challenge yourself. It's the same thing with my ab exercises recently. I haven't been doing enough. The point is that I can feed myself a line and say, oh yeah, I've been doing enough. I did a plank for a few seconds yesterday. I did a handful of crunches the other day. Not so much. You want to see the results? Challenge yourself a bit. Reach the point where you feel a little challenged. So with that in mind, if I'm preparing for a presentation, let's just take one for example. I'm doing a presentation in Nashville in a couple months. We haven't begun communicating about the event other than what it's about, who's going to be there, that I'm the guy who's going to be communicating. Great. Well, what I want to do is I want to talk to the tech team. I want to get into it with them. I want to hear, and what's the sound going to be like? I want to talk to my client more in the next couple of weeks. I want to dive in more and do that extra bit. It's that extra bit that really effectively has an impact. So I think that if you challenge yourself with your study, your prep, your familiarity with the words, your familiarity with using a microphone, challenge yourself a little bit. Don't just say, oh, okay, yeah, I picked up a microphone. Okay, cool. Yeah, I know what a microphone feels like. No, the extra crunches, the extra plank time that lead to the abs that you want are you holding that microphone in your hand and going through the motions and awkwardly, uncomfortably trying to Give a few minutes of your speech to yourself in the living room, to yourself on the empty stage. That extra effort is going to make a difference. So if you put yourself in a position where you feel as though you're putting in a little bit of work, you're actually probably in a good zone at that point. It doesn't have to be obsessive. You don't have to memorize every word, but start and push yourself a little bit. And I think that's going to yield a different outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to start off rehearsals just with a loose outline in front of me. And then if there's bits I'm really missing, I can go back and review. I'll write the whole
Absolutely.
thing out in full, but I won't memorize it. But I just like to have that in my head. Like, all right, this is the whole thing in full. Know pretty much where it's going, what it's going to be about. But then I can take chunks of it and practice it and work on then
I agree.
sewing it all together, as it were,
I think it's
from there.
important. And memorization is almost impossible. Try to memorize everything that we've said to one another today. Impossible. There's no way. It's possible, sure, but it's really hard. But instead, if I had to recount this for somebody and I said, okay, podcast, talked about focus, talked about my background, talked about how to prepare, and I listed off 10 things that we've talked about, people would have a sense of it. Grab that sense for yourself before you get on stage. And I think it's going to be effective. Those bullet points, that's an effective way to avoid having to memorize everything, is
Yeah.
having just an outline. Just go through that outline, not just once, not just twice. Go through it, challenge yourself, do the extra crunches, go through that outline 50 times. And if you do, you're going to have a more effective presentation. And again, that level of focus is going to lead to a self-esteem boost when you get off stage and you're like, wow, I did it. And when people subsequently come up to you and they're saying, wow, that was really effective. I'm so glad, I came today and listened to you. It's because you put in the time. You did the extra crunches. You pushed yourself a little bit, rehearsed through this thing 30 times when you thought one time would be enough. You have no idea how many times people have come to me and said, I really need help with this keynote speech. I say, great. What's the topic? They tell me the topic. What's your structure? They give me a structure. I say, oh, great. Go ahead and rehearse that. And then come back to me in 3 days and let's work on it a little bit more. And they come back 3 days later and I can tell they haven't worked on it. What they've done is they ran through it once. That's not it. Rehearsal is work. So put in the work. You'll be really happy that you did.
Yeah, as you were talking, I was thinking about. I'm no juggler, but I do have some entertainment background. Like I was probably a theatre kid,
Mhm.
music and all of that when I was at school and university, and I do remember very vividly, especially from theatre, the pressure I felt to be line perfect, like word perfect with my lines. And I think I did probably bring some of that into speaking when I started to get up on stage. And I wonder if other people do as well. That sometimes is part of the unconscious stress about, oh no, I couldn't possibly get up on stage, thinking that you have to be line and word perfect. And I hope for some people, understanding that's not the case, that you can really just work with the framework and just know it well enough that you can riff on it, you can do a little improv here and there where you need to. That's to me is one of the joys of being well rehearsed, is that you do have a lot more flexibility for what you can do and say on stage because you know your material well enough to do that.
Absolutely. And then that's what an actor does, right? So if you and I were doing Shakespeare and we memorized our sides, meaning our lines and our scenes and whatnot, and we got up on stage, we don't just wing it, right? It's Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? That's the line, right? The line isn't Romeo, dude, where are you? We don't get to change it, right? Unless that's the approach that the director is taking with the play. But the thing is, if you choose to memorize, which is valid, find the life within the words. That's ultimately what we're talking about. When you get on stage, you don't want to be overcome by fear because you haven't rehearsed. Do the rehearsal so that you can find the life within the words. And if you've memorized, find the life within the words that you've memorized so that when you're in front of the audience and you say, good evening. My name is Greg Bennick, and my topic today is roller coasters. That you're not just saying, good evening. My name is Greg Bennick. My topic today is roller coasters. We're saying, good evening. Hey, my name is Greg Bennick. My topic today is roller coasters. The effect is going to be so different if you've got some life within and supporting the words. Find that through rehearsal. Don't just get to the point of memorization if you choose to memorize, but find the life within the words and find the vibrancy within them and find your own sense of personality within them. That's what an actor does when they memorize their lines as a theater kid or theater professional. They find some life there. And that's why if you go to see the same play night after night, it's always going to be a little bit different because they find new life. There's a new moment, something happens. And it's only through being really comfortable with what you're saying that you're going to get there. And that comfort isn't a God given gift that comfort comes from rehearsal. And it's true for all of us.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say the same is true for music in my background as well. Like,
Yeah.
there's a certain level where you're practiced enough where you can actually start to inject yourself into the music that you perform. I'm
Yeah.
sure it's true. I'm no dancer, but I'm sure that's true with dance as well.
Yep.
And that you just have to get to that level where the dance is you to some degree. You can just put your personality into it because you know it's
That's right.
embodiment to that degree.
Yes, for sure. Absolutely. I agree. It's so important. You get to a point where some people call it a flow state. Sure. Some people call it just being well rehearsed. But what it really is the point where secondary is the thought of what's my next line, and primary is hi. And you're right there. You're in it. You're in the moment, as it were. So, yeah, that's essential.
And that maybe also helps to answer the question of how do you know when you've rehearsed enough? Is that I think when you can embody it to that level,
Yeah,
you're
I
probably
think
pretty much
so.
there.
I think so. It's not like there's a light that goes on and goes ding, oh, I'm ready. But put in some time and you'll find results. Meaning, again, I don't mean to use the gym metaphor, but I mean, it's important, right? If we're feeling out of shape and we watch what we eat a little bit and we do a couple exercises, that's different than being consistent over 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, you're going to go, huh, these pants fit differently today. Why is that? I wonder. It's not because you skipped the burger and fries once. It's because you went to the gym and you didn't have to work out like a wild maniac. You go to the gym consistently, you see the results. Same is true with rehearsal. You rehearse, and day one is a stumble through, and you're like, what is my point? Why did I agree to do this? I'll never want to speak. I don't want to do this ever again. And then all of a sudden, day two, you're like, okay, all right, yeah, I still don't want to do this, but at least I know that one point. After a few days, you're going to feel more comfortable and more comfortable and more comfortable. Is there ever going to be a point where you've rehearsed exactly enough? No, I'm sure you could always refine and improve, but do enough that you feel a little more comfortable, that you feel a little better. Basically, what you're trying to do is take down one belt loop, to use that metaphor with your preparation. When you've got a belt loop down, you're in good shape.
Yeah, the real goal becomes the consistency and the
Yeah,
practice rather
consistency.
than the end performance, which there may be many if you're a professional speaker. I really love this. It's been a really helpful conversation, Greg, and there are many more things which we could get to, but I'm sure, especially having mentioned it a few times, that some people may want to check out your book. Just tell us a little bit about what your book's called and how we can get hold of that.
Absolutely. The book is called Reclaim the Moment: 7 Strategies to Build a Better Now. And it came about when I was thinking about focus, thinking about creating space. It's got 7 strategies in it for ways that we can approach the world when we've been thrown off track by the world to get back on track so that we can create space for possibility. And it's available wherever books are sold. And your bookstore might not have it physically in stock, but all bookstores can get it. It came out on Wiley. They're a major publisher. And I say that not to brag, but because a friend of mine in Reykjavik, Iceland, walked into his local bookstore and said, do you have this book? And they said, no, but we can have it for you next week, which blew my mind. It just completely was amazing to me. Yeah, it's available all over the place. And it's got ideas in it about focusing on the potential of other people rather than walking into situations from a pessimistic mindset, or leaping into the dark with our creativity and the way that we develop ideas in order to create more space for those possibilities to flourish. Ideas like that are throughout the book, and it's story driven, personal story driven. So it's a fun read as well as interesting. There's actually lessons in there on focus by way of teaching readers how to juggle. So there's a lot in this book. So definitely I would welcome people.
I've always wanted to learn to juggle, but not with the machete. It definitely, the value you've shared with us today is anything to go by, then that's going to be very well worth anyone checking out and grabbing themselves a copy. If someone would like to reach out to you and get in touch, is there a preferred way that you'd like people to do that?
Yeah, I'd love for people to go to my website, of course, gregbennick.com, GregBennick.com. And of course, I'm on LinkedIn as well. It's another way to find me, certainly. But yeah, check out the website, and there's video content there and blogs and other podcasts. If you've enjoyed our conversation, there's other podcasts that delve into these and similar topics. And I've got those on the blog section of gregbennick.com.
I'm feeling very motivated to go and focus and rehearse after our conversation. But Greg, I really appreciate you coming and being a guest on Present Influence. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
So before I go today, I wanted to share a few thoughts and a few things that have been going on over the last couple of weeks that you might be interested in. But first of all, some thoughts of this episode. I do think that rehearsal is one of the perhaps most painful aspects of being a professional communicator, that we'd probably all rather prefer to dispense with it rather than keep having to do it, because repeating the same stuff over and over again is dull. It's not exciting, it's not fun. but it is an essential element of becoming an excellent speaker. And this is a reality in keynote speaking that you're going to get rehearsal from doing your live events. I would encourage you, if you are a new keynote speaker, to do the same thing I would do with a new talk, which is to find some places where you can deliver it for free and get some practice there. They are essentially rehearsal times for you. They are the times where you're going to be able to correct things, iron out any kinks, get some feedback from the audience to figure out what works and what doesn't work within your talk, so that when you are being paid to deliver it, you're going to be able to do a bang up job and feel that you are worth the money you've been putting in the reps. Nobody gets big muscles in the gym by just going and doing one workout, do they? And even if you just went once a week, well, it probably helps you, but you probably need to be going several times a week. You probably need to be eating right. You need to do all the boring stuff that gets you the long-term results, and you need to do it consistently. And consistency is something we can easily come into conflict with when we tend to be a little more reactive in our lives and end up finding ourselves only really doing the things that we want to do or that we're going to enjoy doing. Rehearsal usually isn't one of them. Nobody's getting excited about, woohoo, it's time to go and rehearse now. And if you are, I'd love to hear from you. How are you getting yourself excited for that? But we go and do the stuff we need to do to get the results that we want to get. And in doing that, we put ourselves above the people who are not prepared to make themselves uncomfortable and push through the boredom and do the things that are going to make us excellent at what we do. So I do think Greg's book on being able to focus is essential. I love this. I think the book's a great addition to Deep Work by Cal Newport, if you haven't already checked that out, on helping us to deepen our focus and get more things done and not be super distracted all the time. I am still actively working on trying to lower my distractions from emails and social media notifications. I keep my phone silent, it's face down on the desk. I try and spend less and less time on social media, but even then I still find my brain almost wants to distract itself. I'll go onto a platform to send a message or something specific and then find myself scrolling through a whole load of stuff that really isn't relevant. But I think we can get better at catching ourselves doing these things and improving if we really want to. But we have to want it. We have to want the consistency. And I do believe consistency is foundational to everything else that you want to do. If you can't show up consistently as a speaker, you're not going to get paid frequently and you're not going to get paid well. I've discovered this the painful way, but if you're a podcaster and you don't show up consistently, you lose downloads, you lose listeners. If you have a newsletter and you don't show up consistently, you're going to lose readers as well, because you're not going to be seen as someone who's reliable. You're not going to be expected in their inbox, and you're really going to have to catch somebody's eyes and imagination to get them to want to start checking you out again. So consistency really matters. It makes a huge difference, but be consistent with the right things. Be consistent with the stuff that's going to get you results. And track the results from your consistency as well and notice how much difference it makes. If you're looking for growth on a particular social media channel and you start committing to posting more regularly there, to interacting with people on different posts, and to maybe even trying a few different elements out for the kind of things that you post, you can start to track results and see what makes a difference. This is exactly what I've been doing, and especially with LinkedIn at the moment, where I'm finding that certain posts are getting a lot of interaction and a lot of growth, and certain posts are mostly just flying through pretty much unnoticed. So try stuff out, do different things, but be focused and stay consistent with it. Not everything you do is going to work. I discovered this on a deeper level at an open mic comedy night last week. I did my first ever open mic comedy set. It was just 5 minutes. I think I might have gone a little bit over. And even then, I actually forgot some of my act and I went over 5 minutes. So that's crazy. Probably a good thing that I forgot some of it, right? But it was a great experience. I'm happy to say I didn't bomb. I'm going to be sharing with you, it's not fantastic recording, but I'm going to be sharing with you some of the recording from that in my next episode. If I get it in time, I'm also going to be sharing with you and talking about the Story Slam competition that I was in just a few days before, and another one of those that I've got coming up. So I'm going to talk about that on Friday's episode this week. Going to be a solo show, back to the usual Wednesdays guest, Friday solo. I'm looking to do some coaching shows as well. So what I'm looking for at the moment, if you stayed on this long, hopefully you're hearing this, I'm looking for a few people who might want a bit of coaching on their presentation skills, on their keynote, that I'll do for free so long as we can record it and you're happy for me to publish it, which means you will be on video, you will be on audio for the coaching session. Obviously, we can cut out anything that you really wouldn't want going out on air. But for the most part, we just want to show people what a coaching session would be like and give some people who are following the show an opportunity to have a taster of that for free. It's going to help you develop some of your presentation and speaking skills in your business and potentially improve your keynote. I'll share one last thing with you before we wrap up for today. I got a message from a lady in my mastermind group at the weekend who I did some coaching with about her presentation. And she was at an event. She had been rebooked there from the year before. And she said, after the event, the lady who booked her came up and said, I was so happy you came back, rebooked you, we loved you last year, but your presentation skills, your whole keynote has gone up and up and up in value and in ability, like you're off the charts, improved from last time. And she said, that was down to me. That was down to us working together, which is so nice. So sweet. And it really, really touched me out. I'm really, really pleased for her because she absolutely deserves it. She's amazing. And sometimes it is just about making those adjustments that are going to help you to really shine and make a bigger impact with what you do. If that's something you'd like for yourself, reach out to me on LinkedIn or at presentinfluence.com and we can talk about how we might be able to help you shine with your presentations as well. All right, that's it for now. We'll catch up with you again on Friday's episode. If you're not already following the show, please make sure you do. And if you haven't already left us a 5-star review on your app, get it out now. Take your phone out your pocket and go and leave us a 5-star review. It's going to help other people know that this is a good show and to come and check us out. So wherever you're going, whatever you're doing, have an amazing rest of your day. See you next time.